All right. And before we get started, so again, for many of you, I'm Joonas Ahola, the CEO and founder of Meeting Package, the all-in-one sales automation platform for groups, meetings, and events. Today, we're going to be talking heavily on how AI can support you on your day-to-day activities in sales, meetings, and events and groups. I took a little bit of a consolidated risk now since I am on a business travel and our marketing decided to put this webinar during that period of time. So I am not in the best internet. I'm with one screen, so bear with me if a connection drops and goes a little bit, or I'm sharing my screen and the screen doesn't show exactly what I'm supposed to be showing. So bear with me. But I'm living on the edge, so I'm loving the fact that there's so many of you on the call, and we'll get started on the interesting topic of how AI can run your hotel sales. A few things about Meeting Package before we get started. So the company is originally from Finland, originated, and we started in Europe heavily in 2016. And forward, we pivoted multiple times during the lifetime of Meeting Package with the whole intent of streamlining sales, conversion, and automation, allowing hotels to sell better, faster, with higher conversion. And throughout the history, we've been adding more modules, whether it's been booking engine, channel management, global lead passing solutions, but now also to the mix, we have the AI element. And I'll show you all what that means during the whole course of the webinar, but just giving you everyone a little bit of a update on who I am and what is Meeting Package all about. Today, we operate globally. So we're serving thousands of hotels around the globe, from US to APAC and everything in between, from chains, more than 1,000 hotel chains to smaller independent properties, as well as we do have also some unique venues and event spaces that are not considered traditional hotels, but the same principle applies there. All right, let's get started. And just from a timing perspective, we're going to try to wrap up in 40 minutes or so, and then take some questions and answers. I have my team here moderating also the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the whole event, they will be answering those questions. And we'll then have more Q&A in the end. And if everything goes well, we will save 15 minutes of everyone's diary and we'll try to end it up a little bit early. All right. Let's start with the foundation. So we did a survey to all of our hotels and existing and prospective and kind of realized the fact that the group booking process is broken. Over 90% of hoteliers say that the group booking process is broken. What they mean by that is that there's no visibility, the sales process is slow, customers are unqualified, etc. And there's a lot of holes in the basket, so to say, which are not seen or don't have the tools to kind of ditch those holes. Then 50% of group RFPs sent to hotels actually get no response at all. This is from a lot of studies. So if I look at emails going to hotels, different third-party channels, etc., and there's a lot of reasons these. A lot of hotels, they just turned down the request because it was unqualified. So from a hotel's or from a customer's perspective, they never got a response. Or you already realized that the event is happening tomorrow and you didn't have time to respond to it, and again, leave it unanswered. What this all results to is the fact that the hotels, 64% of the hotels say that they don't have any visibility or lack of visibility on how much group revenue slips through the cracks. So what is the ultimate total? And this is always when we start with prospects and new customers, when we start analyzing the current sales process, we realize that there's a gray zone, so to say, where not all the bookings and the volumes that they are reporting is 100% of the volume. There's an area that is uncaptured, untracked, untraced, whether it's emails, phones, third-party services, which should result to the total N of RFPs and inquiries coming through. All of these resulting in millions in room nights and F&B revenue are simply vanishing. Summary or reality check for everyone. Speed wins, period. 79% of RFPs are won by one of the first three hotels that respond. As a corporate buyer, as an agency buyer, a lot of times they still need to get quotes, unless we get into an era that automated quotes are everywhere. So then you wouldn't need to go actually burden the life of hotel sales. However, at this point, the top 3 vendors are getting the 79% of the winning on purely based on speed. Then 30 to 70% of group RFPs are lost because teams just don't have time. It's not about the willingness on the willingness of respond quickly, but it's due to the fact that they just don't have enough time and they need to focus on the big events. We need to remember the principle within our industry that 70% of the events bring only 30% of the revenue, and vice versa, 30% of the events bring 70% of the revenue. Ultimately, your competitors who are replying faster, they win more business, and today it's more about the fact that how can you be faster than your competitor, and we have the tools for that, and we'll show you how. Still staying on the industry side, roughly the demand is picking up. It's higher than ever before. We're now again crossing industry peaks, 28% increase in meetings and events and bookings from 24. Of course, we had COVID and things like that behind, but the realization is demand is here. Demand is back for groups, meetings, and events. It's higher than ever before. However, we're trying to manage that demand with the same team amount. So the amount of team members are still more or less the same, or even less than we used to have. And that's a foundational problem. And we need to have the automation tools that can support that the teams really focus on the things that matter: the hospitality, the service, the customer service, the relationship building, and actually turning those big events into winning deals. If I look at industry averages, there are studies from Noland and others that it's lying between 5 to 7% conversion from inquiry to one. We typically use 7.5 to 15% when we look at the full from a hotel's perspective. And the reality there is that even modest improvements into your conversion, it impacts serious revenue. And a lot of times when we talk with prospects, I always say the first thing is that let's not even try to get more leads. Let's first fix on how we can convert out of those 100 leads that we get 5 more, 10 more. Let's focus on that. And then we can expand the reach of how many leads we are receiving. With the AI opportunity, it is now. So if I look at HFTP, for example, there's 25% increase in direct bookings with AI customer service, 40% projected AI growth in the hotel industry. And if I look at our existing customers, 92% of hoteliers agree that instant bookings drives more revenue. So ultimately, it's not only about instant bookings, it's more about also instant quotations. And in scenarios, the inbox is the revenue leak, and we have the AI tools to block that. So this month, we actually released 5 AI agents. They're currently still in beta into one platform. What it means is we have an AI email agent, phone agent, when you search, event builder, and booking assistant. I'm going to go through all of these one by one, but the main thing I want to emphasize here is that we perfected transient booking for many times. A lot of our existing customers have also perfected the meeting room and event space bookings. But now when we talk about inquiries, that is still where it has been always. And that is the next era of what we can automate, and we should be automating, because that is taking the most amount of time and the biggest frustration, not only on hotel side, but also on the end customer's perspective. Now let's spend a few minutes here and explaining the whole ecosystem game on a meeting package perspective. So firstly, on the left-hand side, you have what are called the intake channels. So where the leads are originating from. On the right-hand side of the blue bot, you have the operational tools, the property management tools, the sales and catering tools, the CRM tools. And on the top area here, you have what is called the contracting tools, the communication channel between the customer and the hotel. We, as Meeting Package, we started our journey from these angles, so the booking engine and the channel manager back in the days. However, when we realized the fact that we can only be as successful as when all the booking channels are enabled through one technology. And that is the blue part here. So having different products to serve different use cases, whether you are a chain, management company, or a brand, you have a global sales office or a national sales office that manage multiple properties. We have a tool called Global Lead Sharing that connects all of your hotels within a unified interface. Then we have a tool for the agents, for the M&T office on property. On the venue sales management side, meaning the fact that on property, they can also have one tool to cover. They don't need to go to the PMS, to the spreadsheet, to the SNC system. They can do everything in one place. Also as a standalone, but the real value comes when it's fully connected. Here we have now added that one layer, the AI agent. It technically uses and utilizes the technology behind the scenes already. However, the conversation that used to be with the salesperson and the customer via email or voice is now managed through AI. The conversation, the qualification process, and putting the information into the system in the shape and form it should be. Then we have the booking engine, which allows groups, meetings, and events, multi-day, multi-room. And there we have released a new version of that also. I'm going to be explaining it soon. There we have also 3 AI companions, if I may put it like that: large language model search, event building, and then assistant. And the last one is the channel management. So if you're receiving leads from Cvent, Venue Directory, Event Logic, when we went through the list, you guys are all around the globe. So technically every country has what we call a specific local champion. So if you're in France, there's Cactus. If you're in Germany, Event Inc. If you're in the Nordics, Event Logic. In UK, Venue Directory. These ones are plugged directly in the meeting package, which means the fact that they cater the customer-facing part. However, the transaction also flows in the meeting package through the channel management component. So now you can see, regardless of offline, online, direct or indirect, the transactions, whether they're inquiries or instant bookings, flow back here while connecting to the operational tools that you might have in your hotel. And I'm sure because of the audience and the natural locations of your properties, we don't have the PMS and sales and caterings for every single use cases. Therefore, this blue dot can also work as a standalone solution. Of course, it doesn't bring the full power as when it's connected, but at least the intake tools will be having one unified approach. And then finally, all of this is combined into the contracting element, rooming list automation, and so forth from the customers. And don't worry, you'll see the platform soon. We have the demo in the end. AI email agent, what does it now mean? So firstly, it parses the RFPs from any email format. It does smart follow-ups. So it's not only about parsing, it actually requires the information from the customer saying, hey, you missed your event dates. You didn't tell me about your guest rooms. How many guest rooms do you want for which night? It does that, what I normally call the limbo mode between the customer and the hotel when emails are going from left and right. It does that qualification on your behalf. It extracts the dates, rooms, F&B, and attendee counts based on the business rules that you have set. And we're going to go through the business rules soon so you can see how it actually works. And it does multi-language support, more than 30 languages. What I mean by that is that you can define whether to respond in the language it originated from or a selected language, but it also can read all those languages. When the system has taken that information, it puts it always into the downstream systems in English, not to avoid, let's say, language mismatch during the process of getting that data into the data warehouses and the data systems behind. And then finally, all of this is instant structured proposals from unstructured emails. I want to highlight here, we are using the normal models here. So we are not building our own model. We're just building the guardrails that allow the models to operate the way that it asks the right questions. It removes hallucination and so forth. So that is our job, to create the foundation around it, but the actual models are the ones that are existing today. And here, a super important thing is that we are using multiple models here because of the fact that we want to keep the cost as low as possible for the hotels. Because if you would use the highest models, the email extraction and the amount of emails, it would be way too expensive for your hotels. So we need to find a balance between a lower, not as powerful model, but cheaper, that does the trick. And then for complicated requirements, it goes to the more powerful model. Phone agent, same thing. What ElevenLabs use there. So some of you might have heard about ElevenLabs, but we can see that the amount of voice. So you can define what kind of a character it is, what is the tone of voice, is it a female, is it a male, what accent do they have. So you can define all of these things through ElevenLabs then within our same platform. And ultimately, the AI email agent as well as the phone agent is available 24/7. The same thing applies here as to the emails. It does the structuring of the RFP in real time, responses to the customer, asks the right questions, and structures it into the meeting package system, and then automatically allows the quotation process. For the ones who are now potentially thinking, is this for us? Am I too early to AI? Well, first of all, I think you should look at it from an angle now that what is there to lose between the area when your salespeople are not working? So you could, for example, configure your emails to be forwarded between 5 p.m. till 9 a.m. to the AI email agent. You could forward the phone calls between 5 and 9 a.m. to the AI agent. And that way you can see the pickup, because ultimately that is a period when customers are still searching, booking. Based on our data, 34% of bookings come outside of business hours. And again, faster response wins the business. So if you do the math there's nothing really to lose to turn on the email agent and the phone agent, as long as you have validated that there's no hallucination and stupid answers, so to say. Other than that, it's all benefits. And then finally, the 3 AI agents. These ones I'm gonna not spend too much time today on the demo, but ultimately it's about AI when you search. This is specifically for chains on the call and brands on the call. What I mean by that is that you could search directly saying London, Manchester, and Edinburgh. I want to find the best available space for 50 people. I need 20 room nights, and it's on September 15th. And it automatically searches based on the chain's properties, what are the most suitable for that need, instead of the user clicking every search city separately. Then we have the AI event builder, which is something we wanted for fun. We don't yet know if it's going to conversion increase or not, but we started the whole search bottom up, looking from a customer perspective a little bit more than a pure hotel perspective, meaning that allowing the customers within your website to build their event, saying, hey, 9 o'clock the guests are arriving. We want to have coffee service available for the whole day. We want to have lunch at 11:30 for 20 people. And based on that event, it then goes through your portfolio and selects the ones that are the best one for that event. And it can be done for a single hotel use case, but also for a chain use case. And then finally, we have the AI booking assistant. That is more like an upselling during the course of the booking journey. So if you land into a checkout and you forgot to add 20 rooms, with that button, you add the chat and the assistant, you can add the 20 room nights even course of during the booking cycle. Simplified, how it all works: email, call, received, parsing the data, generating the code, sending of the e-proposal, and confirming the booking. In simplified world, that is all fully automated from inquiry to confirmation. You have steps here, again, for anyone who potentially has not yet jumped to the era of automation. You have steps here that you can stop the automation process. For example, parsing and extracting the data. Does it auto-generate a meeting package booking? That is one step you can stop if you don't want it to create that booking. Well, then it can create the booking shell, the RFP into the system, and also do your downstream systems, so the BMS and sales and catering. But before you send the e-proposal, you can have, again, manual intervention there if you want to see the offer that goes out to the customer before it sends it out. So there are steps here that you can stop the automation, but the end game, I think, for all of us in the call is that 60-70% of the volume should be automated, while your salespeople or yourself can focus on the larger events and the relationship building and so forth. The final ask, the bigger picture of this is increasing conversion and getting the full visibility. Because again, what you don't know is you don't know. How can you fix something that you don't have the numbers and the data to prove it? So that's the main objective, is that even a small improvement in the conversion that you have. And again, this is the 5 to 7, you might have it 15 or 20 or 25%. Regardless, that is where we should focus first. How can we increase the existing conversion? And then at the same time, there is a huge value in understanding your business, getting the full understanding of all the leads and opportunities that are coming your way, which are not necessarily in a shape and form today that you can do reliable calculations. Before I forget, because now we're going to go to the demo and then we'll jump into the Q&A, there is the green banner on the top, claim lifetime discount. We had an earlier call for our existing customers before this one. So it might be that the figure that I'm going to be saying now is completely off, but there was roughly, I think, 170 something spaces left. So we locked the lifetime discount to 500 first hotels. If you're interested about it, go to ai.meetingpackage.com and you can register through there to get the lifetime 50% discount. And the fee is 250 euros, equivalent to dollars, then based on conversion. And that's it per month. Let's remember there that that fee is super low when you compare the fact that there's token cost and AI cost and so on involved. But for us, the main principle here is to get the 500 hotels live as soon as possible, because the more we get it, the better we can also improve the whole industry together. All right, then let's go to the actual application now. So now I'm looking at the commerce engine that we launched in March and starting releasing it in April, then bit by bit. If you're a chain, you can enable a chain level agent, as you can see here, which goes through your whole portfolio of hotels that you have. And customer can send, hey, I'm looking for hotels in New York. And it would go through your New York hotels and look at what are the most suitable for that request that the customer is sending. Then you can also build your custom agents. So you can decide which area, what is the fallback email, and what hotel should be part of that. Now you can see what I'm showing you now is our test profile and test property. However, if you would have brands, you could select it based on brand. You could select it based on state or city or whatever dimension you want to have, you can have it for that purpose. And you can create as many custom agents as you want. Then we have what is called the property agents. So every hotel within the system will have their property agent. These are fully connected to the meeting package CRS, the blue ball image that you saw earlier, which is then connected to the downstream systems. So these are directly coming from there. But now we go to the important part. What can you manage? What can you control from a business rules perspective? There are some required fields for generating an RFP in our system, which are event date, number of guests, event type, contact names, contact emails. However, then we have more optionality for you as a hotel or a hotel chain or a brand or a management company. You can decide what are the information that the AI is trying to extract and require and sending a response to the customer. Hey, by the way, we're lacking would you like to have meeting rooms? When is your event starting? What is the budget? And so on. So you can define the guardrails and the rules on what the AI is asking from the customer when the RFP comes in. In a perfect scenario, the RFP that the customer sends is so good that you don't need to do any more follow-up. You just generate the RFP. But that is a perfect world. We all know there's emails that you receive which don't have event dates. They don't tell you a number of people. They forget about guest rooms and so forth. So that is the purpose of the follow-ups and the smart follow-ups by the AI. So here you can define how many follow-ups the AI does, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a certain limit. We shouldn't have it for unlimited period of time. That's why we have 5 follow-ups there as maxed amount. What I mean by that is that once it reaches 5, then it will escalate to the staff if it has not been able to generate an RFP due to that period of time. And whether there's a reason that the customer is not just responding to the request, or whether it's just that it's not even an RFP, but they made it sound like an RFP, whatever it is, it can then be escalated to the staff or the human person. Then you have the tone of voice. Sorry, there's sirens coming on. Just a second. Tone of voice. What you can do also is whether it's a casual, luxury friendly format, and an important format, reply format that you can define, whether it's bullet points that you clearly ask, hey, by the way, how many bedrooms do you want? What is your event date? Instead of being a conversational, like a lengthy text. But again, not all of you are the same, and you might define to have different level of responses yourself. And then you can create whatever customer instructions you want. So in our case, in this specific testing one, we've said that, hey, 3% of your confirmed business goes to charity. And if they confirm within 24 hours, they will get the free room night. So it prompts those messages to the customer to react fast. And it changes the tone, always depending on how the customer is asking and so forth. The fun doesn't stop there on an automation side. Let's remember, we're all human. What I mean by that is when an email is sent to the hotel, or now in this case, the AI email agent, they receive the email, the AI responds automatically saying, hey, by the way, we would love to have X, Y, Z. Well, what if the customer never responds? That's why we have email reminder sequences. So you can define how many times, when, and what is the interval between the reminders on how it sends. And here you can say that, hey, send it 7 days after, 1 day after, if you have not received a response. What we already discussed earlier, detecting of the language. Again, you can it always will detect the language based on the original language that it comes, but then you can define in which response language it goes out to the customer. Event name template. This is really important for the ones that are having it within the PMS connectivity or the sales and catering connectivity, because those will require an event name as part of the mix. What I mean by that is that if you don't have a proper event name, it will fail potentially in your PMS system. So you need to define it here the same way as you're covering it in your PMS itself. And then there's just simplicity to kind of clean up the base on resolving stale conversations. We added one more feature just recently on a property level. What I call it is human escalation. So on the priority escalation, what it allows is if the booking or the RFP, the inquiry goes above a certain threshold, and you can define the threshold yourself, it will then escalate to that person through email. And it will be escalation email in the header. It will have red signs saying you need to react fast. And you can define the rules when it should go to a human. So if it's more than 100 room nights, whether it's more than 100K budget, whatever what means a lot to you as a hotel, I'll leave that for everyone's own decision making. But ultimately, you can define the rules on when should it be escalated. And when it's escalated, you can decide whether it's just notifying and the AI still continues, or it notifies and takes over, or it's just a notification and nothing really happens out of it. So you can define it. Again, one more important point where you can stop the process if you don't want to risk the larger events going through AI. And what does this mean? And the final thing, yes, fallback email. This is for general inquiries. So if you're going to use this masked email address, and this, don't worry, you can get it on your own domain also. However, if there is no RFP inquiry, the customer asks, do you have free parking? Can I bring my pets to the hotel? Whatever the question is that is not related to RFP, it might be related to their stay, as an example. It will then fall back to your standard RFP or your standard support email. Important to note here is that we are potentially looking at partnering up with, there's a lot of AI vendors now doing these FAQs and these automation responses on these general questions, to partner up with them, or potentially getting their feed or getting the feed from somewhere else on the information of the hotel. A lot of metadata that we could potentially even respond to these simple questions. All right, then I'll go to the emails. So within the emails, you can see now that whether it's in progress, RFP created, no RFP, escalated, needs attention, human takeover, resolved, and so forth. If I open the emails, you can see that the information that it extracted, and this is what I'm showing you now, is more an audit trail, a backup. You don't need to really do anything here, but you just can see how the hotel team received the email and what was their response. So for example, this was a beautiful RFP made by a customer, dear hotel team, etc. They didn't need to ask anything because it already had the information. So in this scenario, they just created that for the reference number into the system. But if I open another one, let's see, does this have more information? Yes. They ask about information. Now they're also asking, will you need any meeting rooms during your stay? What would you like to even start on the September 10th? And then it goes through the answers. And then you can see again, now it's responded to creating of the booking. So you can also go that through, and you can test it with certain amount of customers. What is also possible is that you can forward your emails. So if your group request receives a clear email, you can actually forward the email, and it takes away the one who forwarded the email and takes the original as the parsed email. So you can also do that. Let's look at this Sophie Williams, which is apparently coming from my joonasahola.com domain. So I just masked a different person so that it considers it as a different sender. And it created booking here now. And when I look at the booking it created in meeting package, you can see that the original RFP came in here. This is what the system was able to extract from the email. Then we have what is called an auto create button. The auto create automatically went through your catalog items in the hotel, your food and beverage, your miscellaneous, your meeting rooms, your bedrooms, and it automatically mapped them to the corresponding spaces based on the best criteria that is available. So for example, the customer wanted to have morning coffee. That hotel now, in this scenario, had a product called Morning Energize. They wanted to have afternoon coffee. It's called afternoon refreshments because that is what is in the system. And meeting room, higher lunch, dinner. The yellow bar you can see here. Now the customer wanted to have dinner in the hotel, but the hotel did not have a catalog item that is matching with the dinner capabilities. So there wasn't a buffet or a la carte or any menu that would have been served during dinner time. So now it says automatically that it's missing a catalog item. However, you can still respond to it automatically, put in the quantity, the price, selecting the space, and to kind of fix those yellow things. Naturally, if there's anything yellow or red, which is the warning sign, it will not auto-generate the proposal. But in this scenario, it generated the proposal to the customer, and the proposal looks like this. So the customer can now see, okay, audiovisual equipment, morning energize, meeting room, from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. for the attendees, anything goes. We have a lunch at 12 p.m. We have also this bedrooms, the luxury room here. Breakfast is not included. Now, if I'm happy as a customer for the whole quotation, so this is what we call the e-proposal. Some of you might be calling it contracting tool. In our books, it's the same. And if I would now confirm the booking here, it would automatically generate the code to the customer. And of course, I am using my demo account. Give me a second. So when you're making the booking and it confirms, don't do the same mistake as I did, confirming it as a hotel user and not as the actual customer. Then it will give you an error, but you can see now I changed it into confirmed. And then you have the possibility of doing the rooming list here. You can also see the e-signature code here. And you can still see the terms and conditions and canceling of the booking, etc. And within your environment, then you will also see when I refresh the page here, you will see the contract will automatically be added here into the meeting package supplier order management page, and that will also be visible into your PMS system. So that contract can be pushed into your PMS system. An important thing here to highlight is the summary, the new internal notes. So you can see the AI email response directly here. What I mean by that is that you can see the communication, the extracted data, and the email exchange. And also, if there's any emails done by the customer anymore after it's already created the bookings, they will also be visible in the messages area here. All right, then we'll go to the final pieces since we are running soon out of time. Is as mentioned, the AI email, the voice agent works similarly. You can also see, by the way, if I go to AI email agent, you can see then the conversion funnel and things like that, fun stuff. But the final thing what I want to show is then the 3 other agents, and I'm trying to get with one screen my face in a way that it's not in front of you. There you go. So now if I click on the AI search that I mentioned earlier, this works the way that you search for London, 15 people, 16th of September, and so forth. So it automatically looks through the natural language that you're doing. And when you click on search, it will go and search the criteria and show the response of the hotels that are in that area within your portfolio. I also talked about the event builder earlier. So you can just add it here, event builder chain, let's add it. And if I scroll down in the page, you can see it starts from a different angle. Are you looking for a one-day event? So you're kind of starting to build your event from scratch itself. All right, then let me go and see with one screen. I'm trying to navigate and turn off the screen sharing. And apologies for any flickering that there has been with one screen only. And now we will go towards a Q&A, and hopefully let's see how many questions we have, and we'll then potentially end it up a little bit early. Matti, you are also on the call, so who's moderating here? Let me see if there is anything in the questions. So now it's time. Anyone has questions to go through? Anything that sparks an interest, or you are curious, or anything that is something I could respond to here now in regards to meeting package as general, or regarding AI, or even potentially selecting a AI tool in the future? I'm happy to answer anything in general, even though it would not be related to meeting package itself. And as mentioned, the recording will be sent after the webinar. There is a question that our PMS is Opera not yet on cloud before 2027. Can we work with you? Unfortunately, our PMS connectivity is towards cloud at the moment. We do have legacy connectivity through AWS, which is for Opera on-premise version 5.4.2 and anything above, but that requires you to have a sales and catering module. So if you have the sales and catering module, then we can work with you. But if not, then it needs to be in the cloud-based environment. And is meeting package an add-on to our sales and catering? Does it interface with the SNC? Yes, it interfaces with the sales and catering we currently have, and I don't want to start maybe listing now because I'm always going to forget someone, but we have Opera, Event Temple, Think, then we have Ivy, BackU, and what else? Maybe our moderators can help me out here, but there's still a few sales and caterings that are in the mix. Infor, yes, thank you, moderators. Marigora has a question on Delphi. Delphi, unfortunately, is not on a public integration at this point. Any other questions? In case there is no other additional questions, remember there's the claim lifetime discount available on the Chat, I hope that this webinar was helpful for you guys to understand the whole landscape and what can be done and what is possible within the environment, whether it's our tools or someone else's tools. I hope it sparked an interest on what can be achieved through AI and automation. And I wish everyone a great week ahead, wherever you're calling from. As mentioned, there was a global audience here in the call. So whether it's the start of the day or the end of the day, I wish you a great week, everyone. And hope to see you soon. And feel free to reach out to me directly in LinkedIn or through email, Joonas, Joonas @meetingpackage.com. And I'm happy to help and answer any questions you might have. There's still one more question. Will you connect with third parties like Business Profilers, MySportal, Napu, HRS? We do have already partnerships ongoing with majority of the ones that you mentioned. I would recommend to reach out and maybe Matti, you can put Tanya's email there if you're interested about the full portfolio of our distribution vendors. Our director of partnerships, Tanya, will more than happy to give you the full answer. But there are tons of channels already connected, and the ones you mentioned are actually already in the mix. All right, then we'll save roughly 15 minutes of everyone's diary. I wish you all the best. Thank you for attending, and see you soon.